America has overall has adopted and accepted trash ass leadership qualities and trash ass leaders, and we keep doing it over and over and over. Now, once again, that's why it's so easy during political season for people to just spring up. Lily white woman and lily white man out of nowhere just sprang up, and the pastor's so chummy with them.
Yeah, it's all about the show and not about the grow. And we talk about that all the time. I think one of the things we've got to come to terms with as a people is the fact that we like to be entertained.
What's going on, family? I'm just here to remind you that you can get yourself a copy of my new book, On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 4, The Caribbean, by visiting my website, www.ontheshoulders1.com, and help support me as I continue on my mission to make sure that my people have our information, even though, there are many people trying to stop us from learning our history. But hey, we can teach ourselves, and one of the tools we can use is my new book, On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 4, The Caribbean. Remember, visit my website, www.ontheshoulders1.com, to get your copy, and I appreciate your support. Hey, welcome back to the On the Shoulders of Giants YouTube channel. You already know what it is. When you see me and you see Pat, it's Breakdown Friday, and we here back with another video to break it down, to make sure that we are taking this information that our master teachers graciously took the time out to gather for us to understand the breakdown and teach it to us. So the least we can do is take this information and use it. So what we are doing is taking this information, breaking it down, making sure we understand it, and making sure we can articulate it for ourselves and others to be able to use this information, practically use this information to help improve our situation, our daily lives, our overall just existence in America. Because what's the point of having all this information if we ain't gonna use it? So that's what we're doing. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, right here on the Shoulders of Giants. Remember, you can check out my website, like I said, www.ontheshoulders1.com. Please support me on Patreon, patreon.com/OTSOG. So the goal for Patreon is $2,000 a month. The goal for Patreon is $2,000 a month. With $2,000 a month, I can pour that back into the business, be able to get more equipment, be able to bring y'all more videos, more information, just do more things, especially more research, because I'm looking to do more local research on the local Black history of the cities that I'm visiting. So that's what the Patreon go to. So patreon.com/OTSOG. If you want to contribute into that, like I said, go back into the business and in the work that I'm doing in the community through my historical work and just community work to help improve my community. So make sure you do that. Oh, Pat, tell them about your book. I know what it is.
So yeah, y'all know what it is. The book, The Chasm, by Patrick Irvin. You can find it by going to Amazon, typing in The Chasm by Patrick Irvin. It's a book that looks at the growing divide between Black men and Black women in America, some of the causes of that divide, and what we can do to make it better. So that's The Chasm. You can find it at Amazon. Go ahead and do that. Appreciate you.
Link in description. Link is in the description. So we'll break it down, Dr. Ben, and they're talking about religion. And somebody asked Dr. Ben, they told him, "You don't believe in God?" And Dr. Ben say, "Well, let me let Dr. Ben tell you what he said." So it's not a long clip, so we're gonna let the clip play. It's like a 2-minute clip. We're gonna let the clip play, and then we're gonna come back and do our breakdown. So let's do this.
We were sitting around the dinner table, some students and people, and a question came to you both. The way you sound, you guys may not believe in God or something.
I am married to an ex-nun, an ex-Roman Catholic nun. I drive her to 35 years we've been married a few days ago, and I drive her to church on occasion. I'll go in and listen. I'll go to the mosque. I'll go to the Buddhist temple. I go to anybody's religion, because religion is a belief. Nobody has it. Now, you ask if I believe in God, you must first explain, because I met the guy that robbed my house, believed in God. He had a big cross on his chest when they caught him and down at the prison. He believed. That didn't stop him from robbing my house. Believing in God don't make you good or bad. The Ku Klux Klan believe in God. The one thing that they said, that they have established a religion to protect the name of Jesus. And so read the whole philosophy. Most of the people here in the Bible Belt will cut your throat for being black. Did the Bible stop them from being racist? No. That don't mean a thing because you believe. You believe and your behavior are two different things. And people ask, you believe in God, you don't believe in God. So what that means? It doesn't mean I won't cut your throat.
Okay, but you said earlier that if we stop paying black preachers tomorrow morning,
the church will close. How many of them come in to do volunteer work? It's a business. It's a salary people get out of it, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, or what.
Christianity and religion as we know it is a business?
Big business. Biggest business is bigger than IT&T.
You get all kinds of tax breaks and all kinds of privileges when you're the minister.
His salary is paid. You think the Pope would be there if he didn't get a big salary? He'd get the biggest salary of all. Do you think, no, let's face it. How many ministers you know doing it for free? Just tell me.
Okay, this is black.
If you don't pay your 10% tithing and see how, if you're going to get buried, then leave your cards right. You may come to the undertaker parlor and say a few words, but you're not coming to the cemetery.
As only Dr. Ben can, huh?
Hey, and I love this picture because this picture got the look in his eye like, bruh. Now the interviewer does a good job because he know how to ask the right questions to get it going.
Mm-hmm.
But so before we go back and break down, some of the things that stood out to me that I think we should focus on is talking about what you believe in, what your morals are, and what your actions are based off of your belief and your morals, and do things line up. Because especially for us African people, black people, whatever you want to classify yourself, black people in America, how we view religion and how religion has affected us, and how other people, how they use religion has affected us. Those are things that kind of stand out in my mind. What about you?
The same. You know, I would say the biggest thing I'm thinking about right now is the equally yoked mantra that we have in the black community, and something that he spoke to basically throughout the duration of the clip. This belief that believing in God or believing in a particular religion somehow makes you something.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing I think we should hit on today is you could believe what you want to believe, but at the end of the day, do your actions line up with your belief? And within your belief, using your belief and carrying out your actions, is that leading you to a fruitful, fulfilling, for us, a free life, a life where we are not under the system, a life where we are autonomous, where we are self-actualizing? Because if it's not leading us to that, like we said in previous videos, then we got to rethink it. So, but let's go back through and break this thing down.
We were sitting around the dinner table, some students and people, and question came to you both. The way you sound, you guys may not believe in God or something.
I am married to an ex-nun, an ex-Roman Catholic nun. I drive her to 35 years we've been married a few days ago, and I drive her to church on occasion. I'll go in and listen. I'll go to the mosque. I'll go to the Buddhist temple. I go to anybody's religion, because religion is a belief. No.
Stop it right there. I love how you went, hey man, you gonna come at me and tell me I don't believe in God. But I think a lot of the times that comes from people's mindset of, you should believe the way I believe, and you should believe what I believe. And if you don't believe what I believe and the way I believe, then your belief is wrong, even though my outcomes are no better than yours. And that's one thing we have to look at, is no matter what you believe, what are the outcomes? Like, let's put it in real and like something that can make sense. Like, let's say I believe I can beat Michael Jordan. Let's say prime Michael Jordan, 1998 Michael Jordan. Let's say I believe I can beat prime Michael Jordan in a one-on-one basketball game. That's what I believe. But the reality is, when I played him, I didn't score. So using that analogy is, we can believe what we want to believe, but at the end of the day, how is that belief actually serving us? How are we serving that belief? Is it really helping us? Because in this in this instance, the belief in God or whoever you view as God. I ain't telling nobody what to view, but the belief in whoever you view as God. But in this, it seemed like, well, and in the context of this, was the question that was asked to Dr. Ben that was asking, do you believe in the Christian God? And
Right.
he's explaining to them, bruh, I don't have to. That
Right.
doesn't define me as a person, and it doesn't define how I will treat other people.
Right. And that's one thing I like about it is typically I'm a stickler for answering the question before you go off on tangents. But with this particular question, we know the intent of the
Of the
question. Like,
interviewer, yeah.
yeah, we know what people are getting at when they ask you that, because we've been, you start doing this kind of work where you're looking at Black history and things like that. You get that question all the time.
Bruh, but remember in the early 2000s, the question was, it was two questions. Are you a Muslim? And oh, you don't believe in God?
Right. Right.
It's evolved now, but those were the two main questions back
Right.
then.
And so, yeah, and you're right. It has evolved now, but every once in a while, when I bump into somebody that I haven't met before, that have heard me speak or that have heard about me, that's that's a question that'll come up every once in a
Hmm.
while. So you don't believe in God, or you're not a Christian, or whatever the case might be. And like Dr. Ben, I'm married to somebody that considers herself a devout Christian that grew up in the church. I come from a family of devout Christians. Um, Me and my mom are the only two that we say we're outside of that realm. But the getting at it is, what does that mean? Like, why does that question even matter?
Right,
Do you believe in God? Why does that even matter?
right.
What influence does that have on anything?
How am I treating you? How are you treating me? How are you treating yourself? How am I treating myself? How do we treat each other as a collective? Is this belief actually serving us? That should be the question. What not?
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you believe in God? Because it's a, and not from the interviewer, because the interviewer is just doing their job, but he's relaying what others is asking. But that's a bit of arrogance as well. Is, well, you don't believe in God? What's wrong with you? And it's like, well, hold up, like, oh, my bad, my bad. I didn't know your view was the only view.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I get that same thing when I tell people that I intentionally expose myself to other religions. You get the
Yes,
same thing. Like, so
yes,
you're not a Christian? What does me exposing myself to other religions have to
got to
do
do
with
it.
whether or not I'm a Christian?
Right, right. Because in their mind, you should only read the Bible.
So I think that's one of the things that we still in it's because in America, the Black community is 70% Christian. And there's still a lot of that Christian arrogance, that Christian
Hmm.
ego prevalent, where if you aren't a Christian, you aren't equal to me. And I'm not even saying equal in the sense of good or bad, but equal in the sense of I can't work with you. I can't
Right. I
progress
can't
with
build with
you.
you. I
Right,
can't build with
because
you.
you're not Christian. And so I love the way he answers it, because it's like, okay, well, a lot of the murderers are Christians. A lot of the scam artists are
Like Chris,
Christians. The thieves, the robbers,
the people you look
the
up to who do
right,
bad.
the people that are doing the worst. A lot of your politicians that you love to hate are Christians,
A
but
lot of your
because
rappers,
they're Christians, even though they're not doing much to improve your community, you'll
you
work with
exalt them.
them versus me, somebody who you see and is sitting here in front of you willing to do the work.
Hey,
You
look,
won't fuck with me at all.
the rap, and I know what I'm about to say, and I know people gonna be like, "Hey, man, it's Future," but it shouldn't be like this. In the context of what we talking about, it shouldn't be like this. So, the rapper Future came to Tallahassee like last week or something, and he went the same projects that we do a lot of work in and feeding people and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
no, he came out and he was exalted. when not just the group that I work with, but when other groups of people go in on a daily basis and help out, there's no exalting. There's no thinking that people barely show up. The people people aren't even grateful. And all these people are Christians. So Christianity has nothing to do with how productive you are as a people. No religion. And I like that how he gets into it, because he didn't want to just stick on Christianity, but no religion, no
Right.
belief you have is going to determine like how we exist as a people, how we treat each other. Because if we're overlooking the everyday people who pour into us on a regular basis to exalt somebody like Future, yeah, all right, we ain't talking about that.
Yeah, and I mean the because he's talking about religion in general. I'm
Yeah,
harping on Christianity because 70% of the black community in America is Christian. And one of the things that I've always found interesting, I'm not sure if the stats are still that way, but at one point in time, Louisiana was the most church attending state in the nation, and it also had the highest murder rate in the nation. So again,
Bible Belt. Well, look at the Bible Belt has the greatest disparities in America. The Bible Belt, where black folk really, really believe, and we
right,
have
and
the
white
greatest
folk really,
disparities.
really believe as well.
And black folk and white folk and I live in the Bible Belt, in the Bible all my life, and we have the greatest disparities. So yeah, it has to go beyond belief.
Right,
But
right, right. So my whole point with what I was saying was let's just to accentuate what he's saying and say it in plain language. Um, Stop worrying about people's religious beliefs. That
right,
has nothing to do with their commitment to the community.
what's the quality of the person?
Right.
All right, let's keep going.
Nobody has it. Now, you ask if I am believe in God, you must first explain, because I met the guy that robbed my house, believed in God. He had a big cross on his chest when they caught him and down at the prison. He believed. That didn't stop him from robbing my house. Believing in God don't make you good or bad. The Ku Klux Klan believe in God. The one thing that they say that they have established a religion to protect the name of Jesus. And so read the whole philosophy. Most of the people here in the Bible Belt will cut your throat for being black. Did the Bible stop them from being racist? No. That don't mean a thing because you believe. You believe and your behavior are two different things. And people ask, you believe in God, you don't believe in God. So what that means? It doesn't mean I won't cut your throat.
Okay, but you said earlier that if we start paying black preachers tomorrow morning,
The church will close.
Let's hit on that. You gotta hit that. I mean, let's not pretend like we don't know this ain't no business, man. Like,
Yeah.
let's not play with it. Let's not lie to ourselves. Let's not be delusional on purpose to act like these religious institutions aren't set up as businesses. It's business. Religion has always been business, and religion will always be business.
Well, I'll say there was a period in time where you had the traveling pastors that lived off the charity of
Yeah,
people.
yeah. But then you
But
had Constantine.
right, those were always few and far in between. And
Then you
today
got the
is no
Pope.
different.
You
Right.
got the Pope. Yeah.
Today is no different. If black people stop playing ties, because we all know the most abundant building in the black community is the church.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's more churches than gun stores, liquor stores, and pawn shops.
Hey man, come to my neighborhood.
So we do know that if black people stop paying their tithes and stop giving their offerings, a lot of those churches would close shop. Now, I do believe that there are some people that honestly feel like we're called by God and we're anointed, and they would keep working despite the
Yeah.
hardships and perseverance.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be honest, the chances that you're under one of those pastors
That's far and
is
few.
right. It's slim to none. Definitely, if your pastor is ranting about you not getting him a Movado watch.
Man, that was that. Hey, you know what? I wasn't even thinking about that, bro. Like, I forgot about that. That's crazy. That's yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. you got that pastor and we talked about that on our Freedom Train Network podcast, so check that out. But that the pastor is degrading the members of the congregation because they refused to buy him a Movado watch from Sam's. And then remember, Creflo Dollar got a $65 million jet that he said God told him to get. And see, that's like the gullibleness of the people as well. Because it's something you and I talked about in private conversations. Most people talk about the responsibility of the leader, but you often talk about the responsibility of the followers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important conversation that need to be had right here is followers have to be responsible for their actions and responsible for explaining why you're following this person, this particular
Mm-hmm.
person, and why you're continuing to do these actions when the overall outcome that you were seeking to get, you so far away from the outcome, it's not even ridiculous.
Yeah, because like you said, we talked about it. My belief is followers have more responsibilities than the leaders do, because essentially all of the power and influence is another thing we're gonna get on, but I want to finish this first. But all of the power and influence that a leader has is derived from his followers. Every single follower takes their bit of power and transfers it to the leader, who then uses that aggregate power and influence to accomplish things. So that means that if you're going to be transferring your power to somebody to use in your stead, you have a responsibility to make sure that they're using the power that you have given them in a way that you deem responsible and
Right,
necessary and
right.
ethical. So
Well,
go ahead.
I just across the board, we do a horrible job as Black people. We do a horrible job of holding anybody accountable.
Right. Right. But that's because we don't really participate in the power relationship, the dynamics of it. We think that leaders are leaders that have all of this power and
Hmm.
influence, and we just try to ride that wave, not
Right.
realizing that the wave is composed of a bunch of water molecules, individual water
It's
molecules.
a team.
That's what we are. We are those molecules that they're riding.
They're nothing. The preacher is nothing without his congregation.
Right. Right. So you
A,
know what, when you stop giving energy to an atom, or when you stop giving energy to an atom, it stops moving.
a leader, no matter the realm, a leader is nothing without his people, nothing without his followers. But there is I think people do have to realize too. There is a monetizing has its purpose, has its place.
Mm-hmm.
But how is the money being used?
Because
That's the
right,
question.
right. Because you need resources, right?
Yeah.
And especially you need financial resources to substitute for intellectual resources that you don't have.
Well,
Everybody, go ahead.
no, finish up. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say everybody isn't like every group isn't gonna have the intellectual capability, the time capabilities, or the technological capabilities to accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished. That's where financial resources comes in.
Right, right. The idea of the poor righteous teacher didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work. That's why like we said, the conditions of the communities never changed. Like we can look at we can look at the 90s where we had this wave of consciousness that come through Black communities all throughout America, and people were speaking good and people were talking the talk and all these things, but the actual outcomes was that the conditions of the people in the community were degrading. That's the actual outcomes. No matter, even in this latest wave of consciousness that just happened in the 2010s, late 2010s, 2020s, that all the Black people, like we come from kings and queens, like everybody was kings and queens in Africa or whatever. But it's like this wave of consciousness is coming around and people are talking good, when in actuality we're not doing good.
Because it's a false consciousness.
Right.
And go ahead.
But the monetization has its place. the church should be able to gather the money and use the money to sustain itself and be able to grow itself. But it shouldn't be just one person who's benefiting off of this, where everybody else is just continuously feeding the pig, feeding the pig, feeding the pig, and you only see one person who is rising. Y'all need to stop doing that.
Well, I mean, the Bible itself has a verse about throwing your pearls to swines. But I mean, one of the things that, because here's the other end of it, the church should not be the fastest growing establishment in a community that's thriving off of the religious growth provided by that church. The church should be bringing up the rear. Everything else should be coming up because of those resources coming through the church first. So yeah, we put a building fund on the church to build up the church after all of the people in the community are no longer impoverished, homeless, without food, without educational
Yes,
resources or
yes,
access to opportunities.
yes.
Once all of those problems are solved, now we can put money into the. But the other thing I wanted to harp on real quick was just the influence aspect, because that's one thing I think we got to understand that there are two types of people out there when it comes to corruption. Some that are corrupted by money, some that are corrupted by influence or power, and they aren't always the same. There are
Hmm.
people out there, like I think back to the pastor and the African pastor, I believe it was in South Africa a few years back, that had gotten his congregation to eat grass because
Yeah,
God had told
yeah,
them, God told him to tell them to eat grass, and everybody got sick. And then I
yeah.
think about another pastor who had all of the women in his congregation sucking his meat because he had holy semen. So
Right,
he said,
right.
like, these are people, the money, even if the money stopped coming,
To
because of the
influence.
power and the influence, they would still do it. So now you got to not only look at your pastor and evaluate whether they're making moves based on financial motivations, but also, is it influence? Is it a power motivation as well?
Well, well, look at on the influence tip, and then I'm gonna go back to the money tip. So on the influence tip, this I forgot this latest pastor, but the pastor who was robbed, they would say
Mhm.
who was robbed on camera and it went viral, and now this pastor is supposed to be challenging D.L. Hughley to a fight. Like I guess I get I don't know too much about him, but I just know I've seen a couple videos. But when you talk about influence, I thought about him just influence a great number of influence, a highly influential person who's not disciplined, who don't have no real morals, no real grounding to themselves. Like, yes, they're speaking, especially in the religious sense, they're speaking it, but their actions are showing you that they have no moral ground to stand on, and people still follow it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even like let's just be real. It ain't no different in the conscious community. Let's be real. Let's not just harp on the religious community, because the conscious community mirrors the religious community. Only thing is, people say I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, or I follow this African spirituality, or I follow that African spirituality. But we have people in the conscious community who their actions are showing that they have no moral standing, and people are still following them. And we could take it out of the country. We could take it in all realms of Black American culture, and people are blindly following those who they feel have the influence, but we're getting nothing from it. We're getting nothing from it. Stop following people. A solution: stop following these people. If the actions don't line up with the end goal, if the actions aren't leading to the end goal, stop following these people. This isn't about you feeling good. This is about actual change. And then, like you say, about the money in the churches. Let's look at the communities where these churches exist. Usually these communities are not in good shape.
Mm-mm.
So you keep pouring money into these institutions. The people in the communities that are not in bad shape keep pouring money into these institutions, and the communities continue to get worse. But the church isn't. Like you said, reverse that. Build up the community. That way you can pour into the church, and that can be poured back into the community, and it could be reciprocal. And the church is building up the community is building up the church, and everybody's thriving. Instead of just one institution in that community being able to thrive while everybody else is starving. That don't make sense. Let's do it different. Stop following people just because, and stop giving money to people just because, especially when it's not leading to a favorable outcome. So
Yeah.
let's move forward.
Yeah.
How many of them come in to do volunteer work? It's a business. There's a salary people get out of it, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, or what.
Christianity and religion as we know it is a business?
Big business.
Biggest business is bigger than IT&T.
You get all kind of tax breaks and all kind of privileges when you're the minister.
His salary is paid. You think the Pope would be there if he didn't get a big salary? He'd get the biggest salary of all. Do you think, no, let's face it. How many ministers you know doing it for free? Just tell me.
Okay, this is
If
black.
you don't pay your 10% tithing and see how, if you're going to get buried, then leave your cards and may come to the undertaker parlor and say a few words, but you're not coming to the cemetery.
Hey man, we have churches with ATMs in them, and we have every black person has a story that they've either witnessed personally or another black person told them about a preacher who's going off on them because they didn't tithe the way he expected them to tithe. He or she. So, but let's not fool ourselves and act like it's not a business, and business is not involved in this. But let's also be real on the other side that the poor righteous teacher method didn't work because he ain't had no resources to build up nothing. You can't talk about building up a community, ain't got no resources.
Yeah, the only way the poor righteous teacher method works is if you have a community of people willing to utilize their resources to develop what they need to develop relatively free of charge. And that's
Right,
not going to happen.
right,
That's
right.
you need the master builder to be willing to build free of charge.
For free.
You need the construction company or the materials companies for construction materials to provide those materials free of charge. You need the resource generators that pull the stuff out of the ground free of, you need all of these people doing things free of charge. But I will say this though, I think nowadays power and influence is a bigger issue than finances because of what you just said, in terms of the amount of black churches springing up in impoverished communities. Now, yes, they are transferring the last vestiges of wealth outside of that community, but let's also be clear, they aren't making that much money. Those
Right.
people are in there trying to become a name, trying to get
Yes. Yeah.
known.
The majority of them, yes.
Right.
The
So
majority of them are not mega churches.
right. So that's where I go with that, where it's like, but the threat here is what you spoke about earlier, that preacher, that person that doesn't have any moral values, that is seeking the spotlight and gaining and craving a following. And there are a
Yes.
lot of them out there.
Yes.
But to Dr. Ben's other point, I'll say this real quick. Churches don't need, to my research, correct me if I'm wrong. Last time I researched this was about 15 years ago or so, when I was thinking about becoming a pastor myself. Actually, this is more like it's about 15 years ago now. Churches don't actually need to be 501c3 to operate as tax exempt. That didn't become law, or that didn't become regular practice until the 1960s and 70s, right around the time when everything seemed to change. Before then, and if you look at IRS code, unless they changed it, religious institutions that are recognized as such are automatically granted tax exempt status.
Well,
Now
yeah.
that
So I'm
Go
reading
ahead.
this. I'm reading this in this charitable allies.org, and this is June 16, 2021, saying churches, synagogues, mosques, and other places of worship are automatically considered tax exempt by the IRS without filing or recognition of 501c3 status officially.
So the point I'm getting at with that is, when a church incorporates, when they register, they establish themselves as a legal corporate entity, they get 501c3 status. Yes, they get additional perks with that, but they also tie their hands on what they're able to do. So
Yes.
you got to think about the trade-off that's happening in the mind of the church leaders when they're saying we're willing to give up our political and social power in order to achieve the minuscule perks that we would get other than the tax exempt perks that we already have.
Yeah.
And if they aren't doing that sort of calculation in their head, then you got to look at how much due diligence they're doing if they honestly believe they need 501c3
Right.
status, and then question whether or not you want to follow people that aren't going to do their due diligence on something as significant as legal standing.
But even with that, that's another reason why it's so easy for politicians to just pop up in churches, whether you from that community or not, because the 501c3 status, the we are not a political entity, but we can support political entities, and political entities can seek us out for support, and we can take their money and we can do tax write-offs and all these things here. But us as an entity, we have no voice in that. We have no real political social voice, like we're not supposed to, because it's not like churches of the past. It's not like
No, it's not.
reverends like Dr. King and CK Steele and them in the past, who were really some real OGs, some real ones, and who didn't allow, or they didn't have that position that was stopping them. They had a moral ground. They had a moral ground, and they were about the people. We far away from that now. We have a lot of we the Black America has just overall, even taken out the religious realm, Black America has overall has adopted and accepted trash ass leadership qualities and trash ass leaders, and we keep doing it over and over and over. Now, once again, that's why it's so easy during political season for people to just spring up, lily white woman and lily white man out of nowhere, just sprang up, and the pastor's so chummy with them.
Yeah, it's all about the show and not about the grow. And we talk about that all the time. I think one of the things we've got to come to terms with as a people is the fact that we like to be entertained at the cost
Yes,
of things
yes,
that we should
yes,
not be willing to pay for,
yes.
or compromise on. And that's just the truth of it. It's something that I think the majority of Black Americans are going to have to struggle with individually and as a collective. This attraction to ratchet, this attraction to entertainment, not even ratchet, and just entertainment in general. Like this, like I'm not even gonna front. I struggle with it. I love battle rap. I love the creativity that comes with it. I love watching those brothers put words together, even the sisters. I love seeing that level of intelligence displayed and coming from people that look like me. But I
Yeah,
gotta sit down and really look at how they're choosing to display that. If
right.
the dudes is talking about killing each other and the chicks is talking about killing each other and fucking each other's men. Like,
We got, yeah. So and I am conscious about what I'm consuming, and I'm doing a a daily job, or I'm moving daily toward eliminating a lot of the negative stuff that I will be consuming on a regular basis, especially the music, especially the music, because I'm not watching TV that much now. Really don't have time to watch TV like that. But the music that I'm consuming. But even in that, talking about like just what we do as a culture, and how our morals as a culture is, as a people rather, so low. So this I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but this is a part of a comment by a white woman on one of my videos. She said, "I have a question regarding being Black and being proud of who you are." That's how I knew. I was like, this person can't be Black, starting off like that. She says, "Why do
might
you
be.
allow?" But now at the bottom, she says she's a white woman.
Oh,
So, but the question is, why do you allow yourselves to be cast in all forms of media, television, movies, etc., with white people for spouses? Does that not smack to you of saying, in order for you to gain credibility, you must be seen to be able to marry into the white lifestyle? Every time I see a commercial, for instance, I think, do Black people not see what's happening here in real life? For instance, when a Black and white marry, is that white America attempting to make America less Black, white Black America attempting to make white America less white? But basically, just the top part of it is asking, like, why are we allowing ourselves to be portrayed in these certain light. And it's like, baby, well, she don't understand the Negro mindset. And that's one of the things we've been working to explain with these breakdowns, within these breakdowns too, is this Negro mindset. And that's being a Nigga. And you can stop saying the word all you want to, but if you got the behavior. But once again, Black folk were conditioned to have that Negro mindset. And then Black people, we continue to cultivate that mindset, that mind state and the behaviors ourselves. And so she's seeing this because from the outside in, to them, that is the representation of what Black people in America are. We know different. We see the commercials because we talk about it. We see the stuff. Matter of fact, just even past commercials, we see all the content that Black people are in. We see all the stuff, but there's a good number of us who make excuses for it. Let's just be real. Good number. Hey man, where he get paid, man? That man doing this thing. She doing her thing. Why y'all hating? They doing their thing. Let them do their thing. Let them eat. Let them get money. Let them do this. Let them do that. Let them. Not understand all those let thems aren't helping. All those let thems is more coals on the fire to help us degrade ourselves, to help our image be degraded.
Yeah, but see that, and see, to really get into that, we would have to do another show on
Yeah.
propaganda and image and all this other stuff. Um, but that, like, it's white people are funny to me.
Yeah.
Because they always ask these questions, and I'm not saying this white lady did it, but I'm just in general. They always ask these questions as if it's revelatory, like if it's something that Black people ain't noticed or thought about before.
Yeah,
Like,
we know. Negro
right,
mindset, we know.
like they always trying to hit us. It remind me of the Bill O'Reilly thing where Bill O'Reilly a few years back, where he went on the crusade. He was gonna help Black America, and Black people needed to understand that the lack of fathers in the home was what was causing all. And it was like, bruh, we've been having these conversations for the last 50, 60 years.
But you ain't concerned about the lack of fathers in the white homes, though.
Well, every now and then they get on their crusade where they whiteness show up and they got to try to save some shit. And
Yeah,
we the easiest thing to attempt to shave.
yeah. Well, if this young lady is watching this, we know. We know. We know. I mean,
but,
we know.
but yeah, but we were talking about it earlier about the lady who was twerking in the school, and she was defended by
Yeah.
the late great T.I. and
Well, you rappers in Atlanta are defending a lot of the criminal activity.
but that goes back to that influence power conversation we had earlier.
Malcolm X told us, y'all weren't listening then, still ain't listening now. These entertainers, these athletes and entertainers are not our leaders. Like,
They're not.
I respect the comedian Ali Sadiq
I
because
do.
he was on the 85 South show, and that's what he was talking about. It was like it's stupid as hell for athletes and entertainers and celebrities to be our leaders, to really be speaking for us on topics. Like, we have people who've dedicated their lives and their whole careers to being scholars in specific fields who get looked over, and Black people don't care about them because they care about the celebrity. Going back to what I was saying earlier about Future showing up in Tallahassee to the projects in Tallahassee, and everybody's excited about Future. Everybody loves Future, but they don't give a damn about the people who come in on a daily basis to try to help them get resources and feed them.
Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation. We was talking a couple years back to one of the a black doctorate of economics who was talking about how the Black economics organization, professional organization, was trying to get established and gain some level of respectability in the Black community. And I want, not getting into the details of it, but one of the things that I think is significant about that conversation is, yet and again, these are people who dedicated their entire life to studying money trends on a macro level, economics, resource management. And when we have questions about economics,
They asked Angela Yee.
that's exactly where I was going. We ask Angela Yee. not this professional body of hundreds to thousands of people that have dedicated their lives to studying the shit.
Hey, influence. Influence. Steve Harvey has become a relationship guru. Like all these people on it, like bro, I'm watching these videos on YouTube, and black people, we're talking about fixing our relationship issues. We talk about it, but I don't think you're not serious about fixing relationship issues calling into some random person on YouTube because they have a show that you like. That person isn't qualified to help you. Like when you called into Kevin Samuels, that man told you I'm an image consultant. So call at your own risk. If you want to call into an image consultant about relationship, do you? Do you? And no shade to him, but he was I love when he used to tell people, hey, he used to ask the girls, do you have a father? Do you have men in your life, men of influence in your life that you respect and you have a great relationship? Yeah. They're like, yeah. So why are you on the internet talking to some random dude? Getting advice from some random dude on the internet when you got a father right there who loves you and cares about you. I
And
don't know you.
the funny part about that is you're getting advice from one random dude about another random dude
Right.
that
Instead
he
of going
don't
to your
even know.
source, instead of going to to the men because of influence, because Kevin Samuels had the influence. Anybody with the influence will be propelled to the top. Black people love them no matter how bad we're doing. Just like with Joe Biden talking to Cardi B. She gonna talk to Cardi B represented black people.
And now Cardi B is a political analyst. How did that happen?
Black. Because she's popular enough, she got enough influence in black people. Hey, let it happen. But going back, like what you're saying earlier, the girl going to the high school and twerking and twerking on the high school boys, and then that being defended, by men and women. They're like, well, hey, they shouldn't invite it. Yes. So you was at Rickers. You remember it was 2000 and it had just crossed over 2002. You remember because it's gonna line up with this with what I'm talking about the girl twerking. You remember that we had an assembly and that invited the junior strikers.
Mm.
And everybody know when you invite the strikers or the junior strikers, what kind of they loop dancing, slanging meat all over the place. So
Mm-hmm.
adults, adults, adults book these men, book these young men to dance in front of high school full of young high school girls and boys, knowing the boys don't want to see it, but they booked them anyway. Soon as the boys started dancing and slanging meat, those girls went crazy. And what did the adults got mad, shut it down, and scolded the children. And I'm sitting there the whole time. They taking us back to class, and I'm sitting there. I'm hoping the teacher call on me because my question is, why are you mad at a bunch of high school students for doing what they were supposed to do when y'all adults booked these boys? Same thing. You adults booked this busted chick. Y'all booked her. You booked her. You booked the once again. The adults are failing the children because even the adults are captured by the influence of these so-called celebrities and these people who we've just made leaders.
Everybody want to be with the group. Don't matter if the group's right or wrong. If you gotta, we know this though. You know, you've had a YouTube channel for long enough. Now you know how
Yeah.
this goes. The bigger your audience gets, the faster it grows.
Hey, hey man, do y'all own research. Look, hey, I want y'all to look. We're gonna do stuff different over here. I don't care what no look, we doing stuff different over here. Everybody who's supporting this channel, do your own research. Be an independent thinker. Don't just take what I say to the bank. Be an independent thinker. That's what we building over here. An army of independent thinkers who can work together. Please don't make me just be saying that in vain. Don't just follow. Don't just follow because it look good and sound good or whatever. Think for yourselves. Because that's happening too much because of influence. That's the best thing about this. It's like, morals, belief, economics, but that influence though. That influence. Hey man, that's why Dr. Being live. That's why Dr. Being live. Because all of that came out of that 2-minute clip. Hey man, that's why Dr. Ben like, hey man, this is how we do it over here though. We're gonna continue this and we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna have guests coming soon. So y'all just stick with us and we're gonna keep doing what we do. We appreciate all the support, all the patrons, everybody who's sending messages. Thank you all, thank you all, thank you all. We're gonna keep doing what we do. He's Patrick Irvin, I'm Joseph Ward. www.ontheshoulders1.com. Remember patreon.com/OTSOG. Y'all catch the next video coming up.